I never thought I'd find myself in a situation like this. I've always been the guy who believed in loyalty, honesty, and the simple idea that marriage was about trust. But life has a way of throwing shit in your face when you least expect it. I'll start from the beginning the way I see it, the quiet buildup before everything exploded. My wife, Lisa, and I had been together for 8 years. We met in college, dated for a while, and then married right after she finished her master's. We weren't perfect, but we were solid. Or so I thought. We lived in a small apartment near her job, a decent place that smelled like fresh coffee and old books. She worked as a marketing executive at a mid-sized company. I was a software developer, working from home most days, so I had plenty of time to notice the little things. One thing I didn't think much about was how often Lisa stayed late at work during the holidays. She'd get home around 8 or 9 p.m., sometimes later with her cheeks flushed and her eyes tired but happy. I'd ask, "Long night?" And she'd just smile and say she was working on a big campaign. I bought it. Or maybe I convinced myself I did because I didn't want to see anything else. All I knew was she seemed a little more distracted than usual. That was until I found her phone one night. I wasn't snooping, I swear. I just left my laptop open on the couch and was scrolling through some emails when her phone buzzed. It was sitting on the coffee table, unlocked. I glanced at it absent-mindedly and saw a message notification from her boss, Mike. I didn't think much of it at first, but then I saw the message pop up in full, something flirty, a little too familiar. My stomach sank and my hands went cold. I didn't open it right away. I just stared at the screen. The message was from Mike saying, "Can't wait to see you tonight. Don't forget the usual spot after the party." My mind spun. The Christmas party. The one I told her to go to network and have fun. I had no reason to doubt her until that message. That little note of shared secrecy. I felt my pulse pounding in my ears. I looked around. Then down at her phone. My fingers trembling, I unlocked it. Her password was her birthday, a stupid thing I'd seen before. I scrolled through her messages. There were dozens of texts, some from her boss, some from other coworkers, but the ones from Mike jumped out. They weren't just friendly. They were loaded with flirtation, innuendos, and that strange, sickening familiarity that comes from people who think they're clever enough to hide something. My skin crawled. I read a message where he called her beautiful, and she responded with a smiley face and a line about "Can't wait to see you at the office Christmas party." My stomach tightened. I felt like I'd been punched, like everything I believed in was a lie. I sat there staring at her texts, feeling like I'd been kicked in the gut. I shut her phone carefully, put it back where I found it, and sat back. My mind raced. How could she do this? How could she cheat on me, then lie about it? Just months ago, she accused her boss of harassing her, saying he made her uncomfortable, that he was creepy. Now I find out she's been sneaking around with him behind my back. It was like a punch to the chest, a betrayal so deep I didn't know how I'd breathe again. Her scent still lingered on her pillow when I went to bed that night. I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, her face appeared and I saw the messages. I felt a cold rage rising inside me. How could she do this? How did I miss the signs? I had to do something, but I wasn't sure what yet. All I knew was my world had just shattered and I was going to make her regret every moment she thought she could get away with this. I had the proof now. The game was over, and I wasn't going down without a fight. The next morning I woke up with a stomach full of lead. My entire body felt heavy, like I'd been run over by a truck. I couldn't shake the pit in my gut, the gnawing sense that everything I believed about her and us was a lie. I sat up slowly, trying to breathe, trying to think clearly. My first instinct was to confront her immediately, but I knew better. I had to plan this. Outstay cold, gather my nerve before I said a word. Lisa was still asleep when I left the bed, her breathing soft and steady. I approached her carefully, trying to keep my voice steady. "Lisa," I said softly, as if I was talking to a scared animal. "We need to talk now." She stirred, opening her eyes, brushing her hair back with sleepy hands. "What's wrong?" she asked, her voice thick with sleep. I looked at her, trying to keep my fury inside. "I saw your messages last night," I said flatly. "The ones from Mike. The ones you thought I wouldn't find. Care to explain?" Her eyes widened, and for a second I thought she might deny it, but I saw the panic flicker across her face and I knew I had her. "It's not what it looks like," she mumbled, her voice trembling. "Oh, really? Because what I saw looks pretty clear to me," I shot back. "You've been lying to me for months, about him, about everything." She looked away, tears pooling in her eyes. "I didn't mean for you to find out like this. It just—" Her voice cracked. "It just happened. I didn't want to hurt you." "Hurt me? That was a joke." My stomach twisted with rage. I clenched my fists so hard I felt my nails digging into my palms. "Hurt me? You're cheating with your boss, Lisa. The same guy you said was harassing you. Do you even hear yourself?" She started crying, grabbing her pillow as if it was some kind of shield. "I was scared, okay? I was afraid of losing my job. He's the only one who ever paid attention to me, and I—" "You didn't think about me," I interrupted coldly. "You didn't think about how I'd feel, how stupid I'd feel when I found out. You lied, you cheated, and you used me like I was nothing." She buried her face in her hands, sobbing quietly. I felt a strange mix of anger, disgust, and heartbreak. I turned and left the room, not because I wanted to, but because I had to get space to breathe. I knew I was furious enough to do something reckless if I stayed. I spent the next few hours pacing around the apartment, trying to decide what to do next. I couldn't just scream at her, not yet. I needed the upper hand. I needed proof, a plan. That's when I remembered the folder I kept on my computer, an archive of all her emails, messages, everything I'd gathered over the months of suspicion. I pulled it up and stared at the screenshots of her conversations with Mike. Every word, every innuendo, every flirt. It was time to get revenge, but I had to be smart. I wasn't going to ruin her life, not directly. I just wanted her to feel what I felt, helpless, betrayed, humiliated. I had one ace up my sleeve, her own phone, her secrets. I started drafting a plan that would leave her with no way out. First, I needed to confront her again, but this time with a plan. I'd tell her I knew everything, that I had proof. I'd make her believe I was ready to walk away, then I'd do something that would shake her to her core. No violence, no destruction. Just enough to make her realize I was serious. I looked at her tear-streaked face, her trembling hands, and I felt the cold satisfaction creeping in. She thought she was clever, that she could hide her affair forever. Well, I was about to show her she was wrong. I had the evidence and I knew how to use it. Later that day, I went to a nearby cafe and bought a burner phone. I needed a way to communicate discreetly. I set up an anonymous email account, linked it to her email, and started drafting the first message. It would be simple, direct, cruel. "I know what you did. If you want to keep this quiet, meet me tonight at the park. Alone." Her face flashed in my mind. She'd never see it coming. I'd make her regret every lie, every betrayal. I was done playing nice. This was war, and I was ready. As I walked back home, I felt a strange calm settle over me. Whatever happened next, I was finally in control. And I was going to make sure she paid, because betrayal like hers deserved no mercy. That evening, I waited in the dark at the quiet park near our apartment. I kept the burner phone hidden in my pocket, ready to send the message I'd carefully crafted. My palms were slick with sweat, but my mind was clear, focused on the ultimate goal. I wanted her to understand that I knew everything, and I was serious about making her pay for every lie, every betrayal. The air was cold, and I could feel my heartbeat pounding in my ears. The park was eerily silent, just the rustling of leaves and the occasional distant car passing by. I kept glancing at my watch, anxiety and anticipation building up. My stomach clenched as I remembered her tear-streaked face earlier that day, how betrayed and helpless she looked. That image kept fueling my determination. Finally, my phone buzzed softly in my pocket. I took it out and saw a reply from the anonymous email. "I'll be there in 5 minutes. Don't lie to me." Heart pounding, I quickly typed and hit send. The response felt like a punch to the gut. She was taking the bait. A few minutes later, I saw her silhouette approach from the shadows. She looked nervous, her face lit by the dim streetlights, eyes darting around. When she saw me standing there, her shoulders stiffened and she hesitated. "Lisa," I said quietly, voice steady but cold. "I know everything, and I mean everything." She froze in place, her eyes wide with fear and guilt. "You're kidding, right? What are you talking about? You've been lying to me for months, texts, messages, I've seen it all." I pulled out the burner phone and held it up. "This was part of my plan. I wanted you to see that I wasn't blind. I've got all your messages, every flirt, every lie. Her face paled. "You're bluffing. You don't have." "Oh, I do," I interrupted, stepping closer. "And I want to hear you admit it." She looked down at her feet, her voice trembling. "It's not what it looks like. I didn't mean for you to find out like this." "Really? So your boss is just a friend?" I shot back. "The guy you accused of harassing you, who you said made you uncomfortable. Turns out you've been hiding this whole thing from me." She whispered. "I was scared. I didn't know how to tell you. I didn't want you to get hurt." "I'd rather get hurt than find out you've been sneaking around behind my back," I snapped. My fists clenched, but I kept my voice even. "I trusted you, Lisa. I loved you, and you threw it all away for what? Some stupid affair with your boss." She looked like she was about to cry again. I could see the tears welling up, but I didn't feel pity, just cold determination. "You're right," she finally admitted softly. "I screwed up. I never wanted to hurt you, but I did. I was weak." That was the moment I realized I had to act fast. I wasn't just confronting her to get answers. I wanted her to feel the consequences. I already knew I wouldn't stay with someone who betrayed me so deeply, but I had to go further, make her realize what she lost. "I'm done," I said, voice low but firm. "You're out of my life. Don't call or text. This is over." Her eyes flicked with desperation. "Please, save it," I cut her off. "You had your chance. Now it's my turn to walk away." As she slowly backed away, I turned and walked in the opposite direction, leaving her standing there, trembling and alone. I felt a rush of relief mixed with a strange emptiness. I'd made my choice, and I knew I'd never look back. I had the proof, the message, the plan, everything I needed. Later that night, I sat in my apartment, staring at the wall, replaying everything. I felt a strange calm. I wasn't proud, but I was justified. Trust broken like that doesn't just heal easily. My mind kept circling back to one thing now. I had to contain the damage. I'd protect myself, my dignity, and start over. But I knew this was just the beginning. The fallout would come soon enough, and I was ready to face it. The question was, how much damage would her betrayal cause, and could I ever truly rebuild after this? The next morning, I woke up with a sense of clarity I hadn't felt in days. The adrenaline from the confrontation last night still tingled in my veins, but I knew I had to keep my head clear if I wanted this to work. I couldn't just blurt out everything. No, I had to be strategic. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the empty wall, thinking about what I needed to do next. First, I needed to cut all ties. No more messages, no more calls. I changed my passwords on everything: email, social media, bank accounts. I deleted her number from my phone. The idea of her reaching out, begging or pleading made my stomach turn. I didn't want her to have that power anymore. I wanted her to understand that she'd crossed a line she couldn't come back from. I also wanted to make sure I had control of the information I'd gathered. Her secret messages, her lies, they were my weapons now. I printed out some screenshots just in case she tried to deny things later. I kept them in a safe folder on my encrypted drive. It was my insurance policy, my way of staying prepared. I needed to deliver one final, decisive blow. Not to destroy her, just to make her realize she lost something real, something she'd thrown away out of her own foolishness. I decided that I'd confront her with everything in a controlled setting, but I also wanted to send her a message that she'd regret for a long time. I dialed her number. It rang twice before she picked up, voice trembling. "What do you want?" "I want you to meet." I said plainly, "This isn't over. I have some things to say, and I want you to hear them face to face." There was a long silence. I could hear her breathing, shallow and uneven. "Fine, where?" "The park again tonight, alone." She hesitated, then agreed, her voice barely a whisper. "Okay." When evening came, I prepared myself. I knew I was about to lay out everything: proof, consequences, and a final message. I felt that familiar mixture of anger and resolve, like a dam about to burst. I arrived early. I hadn't told her I'd bring anything, but I kept the printed screenshots in my pocket. The cool air prickled my skin as I waited. When she appeared, I saw her eyes darting nervously. She looked fragile, like she'd aged in a day. She approached slowly, her voice shaky. "You ready to talk?" "Yeah," I said calmly. "Let's talk." I pulled out the folder with the screenshots and laid it on the bench between us. "This is everything I found. Every message, every lie. I could have just walked away, but I want you to see that I'm serious about this being Over, her face paled as she looked down at the printed evidence. Please, No, I interrupted her. You don't get to explain or apologize now. You made your choice. I'm just here to confirm that I know and to tell you what's coming next. Her voice cracked. What are you going to do? I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of my decision. You're going to leave town. You're going to find a new job, a fresh start, and you'll never contact me again. If I catch you trying to come back, I'll make sure everyone knows what you did. Her eyes filled with tears again. Please, don't do this. I was stupid. I never wanted to hurt you. You already did, I said sharply. You crossed a line I can't forgive. This isn't about revenge. It's about protecting myself from someone I thought I knew. She looked broken, trembling. I swear I'll leave. Just don't ruin my life over this. I nodded, cold inside. It's too late for that. But I'm giving you a chance to start over. Take it. As she turned to go, I handed her the printed screenshots. Take these, remember what you lost, and don't come back. She took them without looking at me, then disappeared into the night. I stood there watching her walk away, feeling a strange mixture of emptiness and relief. I'd done what I could. I'd laid it all out, cut her loose, and taken control. Walking back home, I felt the weight lift just a little. The entire situation had been a nightmare, but now I had clarity. I knew I'd be okay, better without her lies clouding my life. And I'd never let anyone do that to me again. Trust is precious, and once broken, it's hard to repair. But sometimes the only way forward is to cut your losses and walk away. The days that followed felt like walking through fog. I kept busy, but underneath, the anger simmered just beneath the surface. Every time I thought about Lisa, I could feel my jaw tighten, my fists clenching involuntarily. That betrayal had cut so deep, I didn't know if I'd ever fully recover. Still, I knew I had to stick to my plan. No second guessing, no giving her another chance. I spent the first couple of days cleaning out the apartment, tossed her clothes, emptied her drawers, and carefully packed away her belongings. Each item I handled sent a sharp jolt of frustration through my body. It was like ripping off a Band-Aid I hadn't wanted to rip, painful but necessary. I didn't want her scent lingering or her things reminding me of what I'd lost. This was about reclaiming my space, my dignity. Meanwhile, I started making arrangements. I changed locks, contacted my employer about working remotely for a while, and even looked into therapy, something to help me process everything. But I also knew I couldn't let this take over my life. I had to recenter myself, focus on rebuilding what she'd shattered. One night I sat alone in my apartment, a glass of whiskey in hand, staring at her empty side of the bed. Memories flooded back, the good times, the fights, the moments of laughter and trust. All of it now felt like a distant dream replaced by a bitter reality. I clenched my jaw hard, willing myself not to spiral into rage or regret. Then my phone buzzed. I hesitated before pulling it out. It was an unknown number. My stomach twisted. I answered cautiously. Hello. A calm, familiar voice greeted me. Hey, it's Mark. I heard what happened. My mind spun. Mark was a friend I hadn't seen in years, but I trusted him. Yeah, I said, voice rough. Didn't expect to hear from you. I'm sorry, man. I just wanted to check in. I know you're probably hurt right now, but you need to stay strong. You deserve better. Thanks, I muttered. Appreciate it. Honestly, I don't even know what's next. Well, for starters, don't let her get to you. And don't let her take your dignity with her. You're better than that. That hit me hard. I realized I'd been trying to stay strong, but I needed the support too. I'd been trying to piece myself back together, but I'd forgotten that I wasn't alone. I told Mark about the revenge plan, about the evidence I'd gathered, and how I'd already cut ties. He listened quietly, then offered some advice I knew I needed to hear. Look, man, she's not worth your anger. You did what you had to do. Now focus on you. Time will heal those wounds, even if it doesn't seem like it right now. You're going to come out of this stronger, you just have to want to. His words settled in like a small spark of hope. I took a deep breath and nodded. Yeah, thanks, Mark. I needed to hear that. The call ended, but the feeling of support stayed with me. It was a reminder I wasn't just some victim. I was still me, someone capable of rebuilding, of moving on. I knew I'd face tough days ahead, but I also knew I'd survive them. That night I made a decision. I'd keep the evidence, keep my distance, and let her go. But I'd also make damn sure I learned from this mess. Trust was fragile, and now I knew it could shatter in an instant. No more blindsides, No more blind trust. From now on, I'd be smarter, more cautious, more prepared. I sat back and looked around my apartment, realizing it felt a little emptier but also a little freer. Lisa was out of my life, and honestly, I felt a strange sense of relief. She'd betrayed me, yes, but I was still standing, and I was going to be okay. Better even. I owed it to myself to move forward and never let someone like her make me feel small again. Sometimes the worst pain is what teaches us how to rebuild, and I was ready to start over. A few weeks passed and I kept my distance from her. Every day I felt a little more like myself, more grounded, more in control. I returned to my routine, put most of my focus on work, and started rebuilding my sense of trust in people. It wasn't easy. The betrayal still haunted me at times, especially late at night when silence pressed in and I'd replay everything. But I refused to let it define me. One afternoon, I finally took tangible steps to close this chapter completely. I printed out the last of her messages, proof of everything, and put them in a sturdy envelope. I wrote a simple note on top: "This is where it ends." Then, I grabbed the keys to her apartment and drove over. I handed her the envelope along with her keys and watched her face as she slowly realized what I was doing. "I don't want to see you again," I said quietly. "This is over for good." She looked at me, tears brimming again, but I didn't care. That was her choice. I placed the keys in her hand and turned away. Walking back to my car, I felt a strange but undeniable weight lifting from my shoulders. I'd finally severed the last ties. As I drove away, I thought about everything: the betrayal, the pain, the false hope I'd clung to. I'd been naive, trusting blindly. But now I had learned. Trust is a fragile thing, and once broken, it's almost impossible to repair. The lesson was brutal but necessary. Moving forward, I knew I'd be more guarded, more cautious. In the weeks that followed, I focused on myself. I threw myself into work, reconnected with friends I'd neglected, and even started therapy. I learned to forgive not her, but myself for ever believing things could be different. Slowly, the ache in my chest eased, replaced by a hard-earned resilience. I realized I didn't need her or her betrayal to define my story. I could pick up the pieces and rebuild stronger. Looking back, I see how much this experience has shaped me. It's a harsh lesson in the importance of boundaries, perception, and listening to that tiny voice inside that warns you when something's off. I'll never forget the pain, but I also won't forget the power I found within myself to walk away. If I could give anyone advice, it would be this: trust is a gift, but it's fragile. Protect yourself, trust cautiously, and don't ignore the red flags. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them. Because sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is to walk away, even when it hurts. And in doing so, you find the strength to start fresh, to rebuild your life on your own terms. I did it. I'm still doing it. And I'll never let betrayal take that away from me again.